Are you in search of the perfect camp shoe? That shoe that you put on after a long day's hiking, that you put on when you get to camp, and you just want your feet to relax. You want to relax, and for you to do that, your feet need to feel comfortable and they need to relax. Today, we're going to look at 6 of the different camp shoes and sandals I have used over the last 10 to 20 years, and I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of each one to help you decide which one might be the right camp shoe for you. Hi everyone, welcome back. Mauser here. Welcome to the channel. If you haven't been here before, then I welcome you aboard. Big welcome to you. And if you've been here before, then welcome back. And today we are looking at camp shoes. And these are the shoes, the sandals, those sorts of things that you take on a hike to wear around camp once you arrive at camp. Here in Tasmania, often you get to camp and your feet are sodden wet, and it is really nice to have some shoes to put on with some dry socks when you get to camp. So when you get up to get out of your tent or from your tent platform, wherever you may be, you've got an option, a dry foot option to wear when you've got to duck out to the toilet, when you've got to go to get some water, that sort of thing. So today we're going to have a look at 6 different ones I have tried. Let's jump straight in. Now, before we jump in, sometimes people say, why bother taking camp shoes when you can just put your boots on? Well, it is something I have tussled with over the years. When I'm trying to lighten my pack on these big missions that I go on, one of the things I always look at, quitting out of my pack, one thing I always look at, just tossing to the side before I leave, is my camp shoes. And while I've done it on some trips, I often regret it. So it's important for me that I have good camp shoes that will keep my feet dry if I need to duck out of the tent, especially on a rainy day, especially when the campsite is wet and muddy and yucky around. And I do sometimes tend to leave them out for those trips where it is looking really dry, looking really sunny and hot, and I know that my boots should stay relatively dry, but that is extremely rare these days. I think I have found the perfect pair. We'll have a look at them, but we're also going to have a look at all the other options that I have explored over the years, because this is something I have pained over the years. I like arriving at camp and having nice dry feet after taking my wet, muddy, sodden boots off. It's something I appreciate. Once I arrive at camp, I do not want to have to put those wet boots back on when I need to get out of my tent. I just want to be able to slip something on when I need to quickly go out, especially on the rainy days. So, first one today is a classic. Most hikers will probably own a pair of these things. These are Crocs. Crocs, this is a lighter pair, the comfy pair, but Crocs are often seen out on the track. You see a lot of people with them, and I have taken them on a lot of trips over the years. Back in the early days, that was probably my option of choice when I first got into sandals, and it served well. They're durable. The only problem I have with them is that if you step in a bit of a puddle with these on, with your nice dry socks on, your feet get wet. So, and the classic Crocs with those holes in them, not too good for that. There was one trip where I was scooting off to the bathroom at Lake Oberon in the Western Arthur Range many years ago, and there's a video, I'll put it up, of me skipping through the mud in my Crocs, trying not to get my feet wet, and I remember that clearly. They got very wet. So while they're a nice sturdy shoe and I wear them around home all the time, the Crocs tend not to come these days. The other thing that they don't really have going for them is their weight. I'm a size 13 normally US. Yeah, so these Crocs, they weigh 626 grams. That's about, how much is that? That is 22 ounces, 626 grams. They weigh a lot. That is a bit too much for me, I think. So the Crocs have been retired from the track, but they did come on trips back in the day. That is the Crocs. And the next one is another pair of sandals, which I love. I've had these for, I reckon, 10 years. And these are ones that when I was still in the Crocs camp, when I thought Crocs are the only shoes to take on a hike for camp shoes, I looked at another sandal that was lighter, and this was the Vivobarefoot. I think they're called the Vivobarefoot Ultra. I find them really hard to come by. I would like to get another pair at some stage, but they come and go. I'll put links below, but these are a good sandal. They've still got the holes, but they were a bit lighter, and they're just comfy to wear around in the summertime as a shoe, which I really like because they're fully enclosed, but you still got the airflow. But I took these on quite a few hikes again, but I keep looking for weight savings, and when I'm struggling, I start looking at things like camp shoes. These weigh in at 476 grams, which is about 16.5, 17 ounces roughly, and yep, just a little bit light because I kept looking and I found another option. But before I found that lighter option, I wanted something for those colder trips when it was a bit warmer. So I was looking around for slippers for home actually, and then I thought, why don't I get something that doubles as a camp shoe? And that is when I discovered these. This is the North Face Thermoball Traction Mule. This is an older model. They seem to release new models fairly often, and this is actually my second pair of these because I wear them as my slippers at home. These are awesome shoes. They have a very nice, like a fleecy lining, I guess, and they've got like the synthetic insulation, really thick and really warm, and great for those cold weather trips as a camp shoe. And I still take them occasionally if I'm going on a shorter trip and I just want pure comfort. These are what come with me, and they are really water resistant. They don't really look it, but the soles on them have this nice plastic lining, nice sort of bit of traction on the base so that you don't slip in them. They fully enclose the foot, and a nice warm option on those cold trips. Really good, especially in huts as well. These are just a good option. They aren't light though. These ones weigh 525 grams. That's about 18.5 ounces, but for those colder trips, they're really worth it when your feet are definitely going to be wet and cold. I do cop the extra weight that I'm going to take in carrying these because I just love them. Nice and warm and a good camp shoe. They don't come on those big long mission trips with me, although I do contemplate it sometimes, but they're generally for something like, 3 or 4 days. I would take them if it's looking cold. That is the North Face Thermoball Traction Mule, and I really like the colour. The other pair I had were black, but these ones are nice, don't you think? They're good. Oh yeah. Now in my search over the years for the perfect shoes, I often go back to the sandal. We've had 2 pairs of sandals so far, and I bought these ones more as something to wear in the summertime when I'm at the beach, along with the Vivobarefoot, but these are more of a sandal option, like your traditional thing. Back in the day, I used to always take like Teva sandals that weighed about 1 kilo when I was a hiking guide. Don't know what I was doing there, but I used to always take them, thought they were great. They are a good sandal. They were just way too heavy. And I sort of went back to this for a year or so with these things a couple of years ago, and these are the Bedrock Cairn Pro Sandal. Kind of like a flip-flop, but the enclosed bit of sandal at the back. I did like these. I still wear these quite often actually in the summertime. They're my sort of go-to sandal that I will wear if I don't want a fully enclosed thing. And the thing I loved about these was the Vibram sole. So you don't slip, especially around rivers and stuff where there's rocks and it's slippery. Vibram's the way to go. They're a good sandal. Again, they are heavy. They're around the Croc level. They're around 519 grams or 18.3 ounces. Great sandal. These ones 4 or 5 years old and look basically brand new. I have worn them a fair bit at the beach, and I guess that's why they look clean, because they've been on the sand all the time. But anyway, Bedrock Sandals, I just want to show them anyway. Not one I think I've taken them on one hike, but they've just been a good around town sandal to wear. Good option if that's your thing, if you like that sort of style, that is a good option. Next up, well, we went down a bit of a Montane rabbit hole a few years back in 2018. A few of me and my friends who go on the hikes, Walser, Croft, Bowie, we all went down a bit of a Montane rabbit hole. I bought the Montane Prism pants. We bought some Montane gloves. We found this Montane brand. It was all synthetic stuff. Thought it was great. In that little spurt of Montane buying, we all bought a pair of Montane Prism Booties. These things, as you can see, are a bit flimsy, and they just pack down into a little bag, and which is quite nice. We gave these a go on an October trip, so that is sort of spring here in Australia. Really cold trip. It was when it was freezing. It's when my socks froze. Socks for brekkie. That's what I'm walking in today. We took these as our camp booties because we discovered them, and they were 197 grams. If you've been following along, the lightest pair so far was the Vivobarefoot sandals at 476 grams. These are less than 200. Nearly a 300 gram saving with these things. So we were sold. We were like, let's go. Let's get these. So we packed them up, went on our trip. It was really wet and cold. And what we found with these is that we wore them around camp. They do have a bit of a sole and they're nice, but basically the water gradually permeated through them as we wore them around camp. They still kept your feet a little warm. Croft still wears them, but I just found my feet got colder as the weather got colder and my socks were wet, not pleasant. So I ended up, after that trip, going back to the Thermoball Traction Mule, and I haven't worn these a great deal just because I find them, I don't want to get my feet wet. But some people love them. I'm not a huge fan, and because of that, I kept my search up for the perfect pair of camp slippers, and a year or two later, I discovered what I think is a fantastic shoe. I still take them on every trip now, some 3 or 4 years later, and that is the Exped slipper. These things are awesome. They look very similar to the Montane Booty, so I had my doubts at first, but the sole on these just feels a little bit better, a bit more waterproof and solid. The top is a lot thinner, insulated with synthetic fill still, but I don't know, they just seem to keep the water out a lot better than those Montane Prisms do. There's a bit more structure, and I just find they work really well. These look brand new, and I've taken them on a lot of trips and worn them around camp. Really good slipper. The model has changed a little bit now on the website, but still going strong. And the best thing about these is these are the lightest of all the slippers. These are 168 grams. Whoa, it's about 6 ounces. That is light for a pair of camp shoes. I keep searching for lighter ones, but I cannot find lighter ones than these that will keep the water out, that I can wear around camp, and they're a good shoe. I wouldn't wear them in the mud. I'd wear them on damp ground. I wouldn't wear them in a puddle, but yeah, they're the ones I'm taking on every trip. I nearly didn't take them on my last trip earlier in the year, my big trip, but they came 168 grams. How could I not take them for a bit of comfort around camp? That is beautiful. They fold right up if you want them to, but I generally just sit them in the pack like that, nice and flat. Great little slipper. So there you have it. That's today's video. Quick run through of the camp slippers and sandals I have worn over the years. I'd love to hear if you have tried any of them, if you've got any other options. I do know about that little sleeping mat option. People make their own with a piece of foam with a bit of string. Not interested in that. But if you've got some good camp shoes, slippers, if you've got any stories about the ones you've worn, I'd love to hear from you, so leave them in the comments below. Please like, please subscribe, hit that little bell thing so you get notified of the next video when that comes out, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Get out there, go on a hike. Tell me what hike you've been on in the comments too. I'd love to hear some good walks anywhere in the world, because I'm always looking for good walks. And in the meantime, I'm going to head out the trail and go and do a little mission. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you on the next one. In the meantime, enjoy yourself, get out in the trails, and I'll see you next time. Catch you later. Bye-bye.